I buried my son 20 years ago. But 3 weeks ago, he called me from the grave. This is my real story. Every Sunday for 2 decades, I stood at his headstone. His old phone number stayed in my contacts because deleting it felt like killing him all over again. I even kept paying the bill on a line that had been dead since 2006. Last month at 2:47 a.m., my phone lit up. The screen showed his name. His photo from his 18th birthday smiled back at me. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped it. I answered. A terrified, familiar voice whispered, "Dad, where am I?" It was him. My son, who'd been in the ground for 20 years, was on the other end of the line, lost, scared, and begging me to find him. If this story touches your soul, subscribe to this channel because every day there is a new story that could be yours. Tell us where you're listening from in the comments right now. 20 years ago, on November 3rd, 2005, a truck ran a red light and T-boned his little sedan. The police told me death was instant, no pain. I got the call at 11:43 p.m. while watching late-night news. I remember the exact second the phone rang. I sped to County General doing 90 on the highway, praying the whole way that they were wrong. They took me to the quiet room, the one they only use when there's nothing left to save. They let me see him. His face was perfect, untouched, like he was only sleeping. I held his hand. It was still warm. I waited 2 full hours for his chest to rise again. It never did. His mother arrived later and collapsed screaming. They sedated her. I had to do everything alone. Choose the casket, pick the plot under the old oak at Riverside Cemetery, write the obituary, select the lila. I moved through it all like a ghost. The funeral was small, maybe 30 people. His friends stood around with red eyes, shuffling, not knowing what to say. Within a year, most of them stopped mentioning his name. Within 2 years, no one did. That's how grief works. The world moves on. I couldn't? I kept his bedroom exactly as he left it. Hoodies still in the closet, posters still on the walls. His disconnected phone bill, $32 a month, just to keep that contact in my phone alive. People told me to move forward. Therapy, dating, anything. I learned to live around the hole he left instead. You don't get over losing a child. You just learn to walk carefully so you don't fall in. Then, after 20 years of silence, his name lit up my screen in the middle of the night, and my dead son asked me where he was. But when I tried to answer him, something happened that made my blood run cold. The line went silent for 3 full seconds. Then I heard breathing, slow, shaky, human breathing. I couldn't speak. My throat locked, my whole body froze. Then a whisper, small and cracked. "Dad, are you there?" It was his voice. Not a recording, not a trick, not my imagination. The exact voice I'd heard every day for 19 years and in every nightmare for the 20 after. I forced air into my lungs. "Michael?" I rasped. "Yeah, it's me." A terrified pause. "Dad, I don't know where I am." My bedroom light was off. The only glow came from his name on the screen. I stumbled out of bed, flipped the switch, and the sudden brightness made me dizzy. "What do you mean, where you are?" I asked. I woke up somewhere else. Everything's wrong. I remember the crash. I remember dying. I felt it stop, Dad. Everything went black. Then I opened my eyes and 20 years were just gone. His words hit me like punches. He kept going, voice rising with panic. I look older. I found a driver's license that says I'm 38, but that's not right. People walk straight through me sometimes. I'm scared. I only remembered one phone number. Yours. I was pacing now, barefoot on cold hardwood. "Slow down, son. Tell me anything, street signs, buildings, anything." "I'm in an apartment. It's dark. There's mail on the counter. Hold on." I heard shuffling, a door creak open, footsteps echoing in a hallway. Then click, the call dropped. Dead silence. I stared at the screen. Call duration 9 minutes 43 seconds. I called back instantly. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Again, same robotic message 15 times. Same message every single time. My dead son had reached across 20 years, begged me for help, and vanished. I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed until sunrise, replaying every syllable. It wasn't a prank. Nobody else knew those tiny details about the crash. It wasn't a hallucination. The call was right there in my log, time-stamped, real. At 6:30 a.m. I drove to Riverside Cemetery. Fog clung to the ground like smoke. I walked straight to his grave under the oak. The stone still read, Michael James Carter, April 12, 1986, November 3, 2005, beloved son. The grass was undisturbed. Dew soaked my shoes. I knelt and pressed both palms to the earth. Michael, are you still in there? Of course he was. I watched them lower the casket myself. So, who or what had just called me at 2:47 in the morning? I took a photo of the call log, the gravestone, the timestamp, proof. I needed proof I wasn't losing my mind. 3 days passed. No more calls. I barely ate. I kept the phone in my hand every second, terrified I'd miss him again. Then, on the fourth night at 3:15 a.m., it rang again. His name, his photo. I answered before the first ring finished. Michael! Dad! He sounded exhausted, like he hadn't slept either. I found an address. I'm so sorry I disappeared. Please, come get me. And when he read me that address 2 states away, I realized this nightmare was only just beginning. He read the address slowly, like he was afraid the words would vanish if he spoke too fast. 4247 Riverside Avenue. Apartment 8, Moorfield, West Virginia, 2 states away. 8 hours if I drove straight through. That's not even close to home, I whispered. I know, he said, voice cracking. Dad, I don't know how I got here. I went outside yesterday and a woman walked right through me like I wasn't even solid. People look at me and then look away like they forgot I exist. I think I'm some kind of ghost. You're not a ghost, I said automatically, even though I had no idea what he was. Ghosts don't use phones, Michael. You're alive. I'm coming right now. Silence. Then the smallest, most broken sound I've ever heard from him. Please hurry. The line cut dead again. I didn't hesitate. I threw clothes in a duffel, grabbed my keys, and at 4:03 a.m. I was on the interstate doing 95 the whole way. Coffee at truck stops tasted like ash. My eyes burned, but I couldn't stop. Every mile felt like I was racing death itself for the second time. Before I left, I did one insane thing. I called the phone carrier at 4 in the morning. Got a very sleepy rep. I've received 2 calls from a number that's been disconnected since 2006, I told her. She put me on hold. Came back confused. Sir, our system shows 0 activity on that line for 19 years. No incoming, no outgoing, no data. It's impossible. I hung up, took more screenshots, recorded a video of the call log with the date glowing on screen. Evidence, because nobody was going to believe this. 7 hours and 10 minutes later, I crossed the state line into West Virginia. GPS said arrival 11:47 a.m. I rolled into Moorfield at 11:46. 4247 Riverside Avenue was easy to find and wrong the second I saw it. 4-story red brick apartment building, windows boarded, front door chained shut. A bright orange condemnation sign screamed nitrogen monoxide trespassing, scheduled for demolition. My stomach dropped so hard I had to pull over. The place was abandoned, empty, dead. How could my son be inside a building that had been locked and rotting for years? I sat in my car staring at it for 20 minutes, trying to talk myself into leaving. This was crazy. I was crazy. Then I remembered his voice. Please hurry. I slipped through a hole in the chain-link fence, found a side door with a busted lock, and stepped into darkness that smelled like mold and forgotten lives. Flashlight on my phone shaking in my hand, I started searching. Every apartment gutted. Graffiti, broken bottles, needles on the floor. No power, no water, no sign anyone had been here in a decade, until I reached the third floor and found apartment 8. The door was closed. The brass number 8 was polished, spotless. Every other door in the building hung off its hinges. This one looked brand new. I turned the handle. It opened without a sound. And when I stepped inside, the world I thought I knew shattered forever. The note was written in blue ballpoint on yellow-lined paper, the exact kind Michael used in high school. Dad, if you're reading this, then I'm really gone and somehow you found me anyway. I woke up here 3 weeks ago. I have an ID that says Marcus James Powell, age 38, factory worker, no family. I have bills, a job, a whole life I don't remember living, but I'm not Marcus. I'm Michael Carter, your son. I remember dying. Then I opened my eyes in this apartment and 20 years were stolen. People here know me as Marcus. They talk to me like we've been friends for years, but I don't know their names. When I look in the mirror, I see a stranger who's almost me, just older. I think something went wrong the night I died. I think I got put in the wrong timeline or the wrong body, or maybe I'm just crazy. Your number is the only thing I still remember clearly. If I disappear again, please don't stop looking. I love you. I'm sorry I left you alone for so long, Michael. I read it 4 times, my legs folded, and I hit the carpet hard. Tears came so fast I couldn't see. I pressed the note to my chest like it might disappear if I let go. I finally stood up on shaky legs and looked around properly. The living room was spotless. Couch, coffee table, flat-screen TV, all perfectly normal except this building was supposed to be empty. On the walls hung 2 sets of photos. Left wall, our real life. Michael at 6 with his first bike. 10 blowing out birthday candles. 16 at prom in a rented tux that was too big. Photos I had copies of at home. Right wall, impossible life. Michael older, heavier, smiling in a college graduation gown. Michael at maybe 30 with coworkers at a barbecue. Michael standing right outside this very building, arm around a woman I'd never seen, both of them laughing. Photos that could not exist because he died at 19. I pulled out my phone and photographed everything, hands trembling so badly the pictures blurred. Kitchen next. Dishes in the drying rack, a coffee mug still warm, fridge full of fresh food milk expiring in 5 days. Someone was living here. Someone was breathing, eating, sleeping in a condemned building. Then I heard it. A soft creak from the bedroom. I froze. Another creak. Slow footsteps on carpet. Someone was in there. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a cast-iron pan from the stove, and walked toward the half-open bedroom door, heart pounding so hard I tasted metal. I nudged the door with my foot. The room was empty, bed made, closet closed, window locked. But on the nightstand sat a wallet, keys, and a phone charging. I opened the wallet with shaking fingers. Driver's license, Marcus James Powell. Same birthday as Michael, April 12, 1986. Same scar on the chin from the bike fall at age 7. And the face staring back at me was my son, aged 20 years overnight. I was still staring at it when the front door of the apartment clicked shut behind me. Someone had just come home. I spun around, pan still raised like a baseball bat. The front door was closed, no one there, but I swear I heard it shut. The apartment was silent except for my own ragged breathing. I crept to the living room, checked the kitchen, the bathroom, every closet, empty, no one, yet the air felt different, charged, like someone had just stepped out of sight. I forced myself to breathe slower. I was losing it. I went back to the bedroom and opened the dresser drawers. Men's clothes, size large, exactly what Michael wore. In the bottom drawer, a thick medical file stamped County General Hospital minus 2005. I sat on the bed and opened it with shaking hands. Patient, John Doe, later Marcus James Powell. Admitted, November 3rd, 2005, 11:58 p.m. Severe traumatic brain injury, multiple fractures, coma, 6 days. Upon waking, total retrograde amnesia, no identification recovered from crash scene. No family ever located, same night, same hospital. 6 minutes after Michael was brought in. I flipped the page and found intake photos. A bruised, swollen, unconscious young man on a gurney, tubes everywhere. Bandages over half his face, but the half I could see. The nose, the mouth, the shape of the jaw, it was Michael. My son had been 6 minutes away from me the night I identified a stranger as my dead child. I kept reading. After discharge, social services gave the John Doe a new name he picked himself, Marcus Powell. He got a job at Moorfield Manufacturing. Built a life from nothing. Therapy notes for 20 years. Depression, identity crises, nightmares of a crash he couldn't place. Last entry, 3 weeks ago. Patient reports sudden, vivid memories of a childhood that does not match known history. Hearing a voice calling him Michael, extreme distress. I closed the file. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. That's when the phone on the nightstand lit up. Not my phone. The one charging on Marcus's side of the bed. Incoming call, unknown number. It rang 3 times. I couldn't move. On the 4th ring, it stopped. A second later, a text appeared on the lock screen, big white letters. Dad, I'm scared. They're coming to take the apartment. I don't know where to hide. Please hurry. I stared at the screen until it went dark. Then I heard the front door again, this time a key turning in the lock. Real this time, metal scraping metal. Footsteps in the hallway. Someone was definitely coming home. I shoved the medical file under the mattress, grabbed my own phone, and ducked into the closet, pulling the sliding door almost shut. Then I heard the front door again, this time a key turning in the lock. Real this time, metal scraping metal. Footsteps in the hallway. Someone was definitely coming home. I shoved the medical file under the mattress, grabbed my own phone, and ducked into the closet, pulling the sliding door almost shut. Through the slats, I watched the bedroom door swing open. A man stepped in, tall, broad-shouldered, brown jacket, work boots. He tossed keys on the dresser exactly where they'd been. He looked exactly like the driver's license photo. He looked exactly like my son would at 38. He rubbed his eyes, exhausted, then froze. He was staring straight at the closet. He knew I was here. And when he spoke, the voice was deeper, rougher, but unmistakably Michael. Who's in my apartment? My heart stopped. Because the next thing he did was reach under the mattress for the exact file I'd just hidden. He pulled the medical file out from under the mattress, slow, like he already knew it had been touched. I couldn't breathe. The closet smelled of cedar and his cologne, the same cheap cologne he wore at 17. He opened the folder, flipped to the intake photo from 2005, and just stared for a long time. Then he whispered to the empty room, Michael, why do you keep saying that name? He thought he was alone. I watched my 38-year-old son talking to the ghost of his 19-year-old self. He closed the file, pressed it to his forehead like his head hurt, and sat on the edge of the bed. I'm losing it, he muttered. 20 years of nothing, and now every night I dream about a dad I never had. A mom who calls me Michael, a bedroom with Green Day posters. He laughed, but it cracked in the middle. I even dreamed the guy's phone number, wrote it on my hand in my sleep. He lifted his left palm. There, in faded blue ink, was my number. I almost collapsed right there in the closet. He stood up, walked to the dresser mirror, and stared at his reflection like it belonged to a stranger. "Who the hell are you, Marcus?" he asked the glass. "Because I'm starting to think you stole somebody else's life." Then his phone buzzed again on the nightstand. Another text lit the screen. This time I could read it clearly. "They're coming to demolish tomorrow. I can't stay here. Meet me at the old factory gate at 11 p.m. Please, Dad, I'm running out of time." He read it, face going white. "Who is doing this?" he said out loud. "Who keeps calling me Dad?" That was it. I couldn't hide anymore. I slid the closet door open. He spun around, eyes wide, fists already up. When he saw me, the fight drained out of him like someone pulled a plug. He knew my face. I saw it happen, recognition slamming into him like a second crash. "You," he breathed. "You're the man from the dreams." I couldn't speak. I just nodded, tears already falling. He took one step toward me, then another, until we were 3 feet apart. Up close, the lines around his eyes were deeper, his shoulders broader, but the eyes, those were Michael's eyes, terrified and searching. "Say it," he whispered. "Say the name you think I am." "Michael," I said, voice breaking. "You're my son?" He closed his eyes like the word physically hurt. "That's impossible," he said, but it sounded like a prayer, not a denial. "I have proof," I told him. "I have the hospital records. I have DNA kits. I have 20 years of grief that just turned into the opposite." He opened his eyes again. They were wet. "If I'm him, then who did you bury?" The question hung between us like smoke. And at that exact moment, 3 loud bangs shook the front door. "Maintenance. Buildings condemned. Open up or we're cutting the lock tomorrow." He looked at me in pure panic. "They're clearing the place out at dawn," he said. "If they find me here with no lease for the last 3 months, I'm done. I don't even know how I've been paying rent." Another bang on the door. We had hours, maybe less, before they tore his whole fake life apart, and before whatever fragile thread was holding my son in this world snapped for good. The banging on the door stopped as suddenly as it started. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. We both let out the breath we'd been holding. He, Marcus Michael, my son, looked at me like I was a bomb about to go off. "Say something real," he whispered. "Tell me something only his father would know." I didn't even have to think. "When you were 7, you fell off your bike on Maple Drive. You split your chin open. You wouldn't let our doctor stitch it until I promised you could keep the scar because pirates have scars. You still have it." I reached out and brushed the tiny white line on his chin with my thumb. His knees buckled. He sat hard on the bed. "I remember that," he said, voice cracking. "I remember the promise. I remember you." "The dam broke?" He dropped his head into his hands and cried like the little boy who used to run to me when storms scared him. I sat beside him and wrapped my arms around the man my son had become without me. He was bigger now, heavier, but he still fit the same way. We stayed like that until the crying slowed. He wiped his face on his sleeve. "I've been having blackouts," he said. "Whole days missing. I wake up in places I don't remember going. 3 weeks ago I woke up screaming your name, Dad, except I didn't know why. My neighbors think I'm on drugs." I pulled the DNA kit from my jacket pocket. "We can end the guessing. 1 swab, 48 hours, we'll know for sure." He stared at the plastic tube like it was a loaded gun. "And if it says yes? Then we figure out the rest together. And if it says no? Then I still help you disappear before they bulldoze this place tomorrow." He laughed once, short and broken. Fair. He opened his mouth. I swabbed his cheek. 10 seconds. Sealed it. Labeled it. My hands shook the whole time. He watched me pocket the sample. I have to finish my shift tonight, he said. Third shift at Morayfield Manufacturing starts at 11. If I don't clock in, they'll send someone here looking. I can't lose the job until I know what's real. I'll drive you, I said. We'll talk the whole way. He nodded, then did something that nearly undid me. He hugged me first, hard, like he was scared I'd vanish. His phone buzzed again. Another unknown text. They changed the demolition to 6 a.m. I'm sorry, Dad. I think this is goodbye. He showed me the screen. The words glowed like a death sentence. No, I said. Not again, not after 20 years. He looked at me with pure terror. What if I'm only here because the universe finally noticed the mistake? What if tomorrow the mistake gets corrected and I just disappear? I grabbed his shoulders. Then we don't give it the chance. I looked around the apartment, his impossible home, and made a decision. Pack one bag, essentials only. We're leaving tonight. We'll get the DNA rushed at County General, the same hospital that screwed this up in the first place. We'll make them fix it. He didn't argue. He started throwing clothes into a backpack with shaking hands, and as he zipped it shut, every light in the apartment flickered once, then died. In the sudden darkness, his phone lit up with one final text. Run. The apartment plunged into total darkness. No hum from the fridge, no glow from the charger, nothing. Only his phone screen lit the room like a horror movie. Run. He stared at it, breathing fast. That's the third time today, he whispered. It's never said that before. I grabbed his wrist. Bag keys, now? We moved by phone light. He snatched wallet, keys, the medical file. I stuffed the note from the fridge into my pocket. 30 seconds later, we were at the front door. He paused, hand on the knob. If we leave, I lose everything I've built as Marcus. If we stay, you might lose everything forever, I said. He opened the door. The hallway was pitch black, but farther down the corridor, a single emergency bulb flickered on and off like a dying heartbeat. Under the strobe, shadows stretched and snapped. We stepped out. The door to apartment 8 closed behind us with a soft, final click. That's when we heard it. Heavy boots on the stairwell, coming up fast, more than one set. Maintenance isn't supposed to be here until 6, he hissed. Flashlight beams stabbed upward from below. Police, open up. We froze. He looked at me, eyes wide. They think I'm squatting. If they take me in, I vanish into the system before we get answers. I made the choice in half a second. Fire escape. Go. We bolted the opposite way. Emergency exit sign glowed faint red at the end of the hall. He shoulder-checked the bar. The door screamed open onto a rusted metal landing. Cold night air hit us. 4 stories up. The ladder was frozen in place. Boots thundering closer behind us. He didn't hesitate. He threw his backpack down first. It landed with a thud in the alley. Then he swung over the railing and slid down the ladder like he'd done it 100 times. I followed, palms burning on cold nettle. We dropped into the alley just as flashlight beams exploded out the emergency door above. Stop! Police! We ran. Across the alley, through a hole in another fence onto a side street. His silver Honda was parked 2 blocks away. He'd left it there because the apartment lot had been chained off weeks ago. We dove in. He floored it before I even had the door shut. Red and blue lights flared in the rear view 2 seconds later. He took corners like a getaway driver, tires squealing. I gripped the handle so hard my knuckles went white. Factory's the other way, I yelled. I know a back road, he shouted. They won't follow past county line. He was right. After 10 minutes of pure chaos, the cruiser lights faded behind us. We hit the dark highway doing 90, both of us shaking with adrenaline. He finally eased off the gas. Silence filled the car except for our breathing. Then his phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. He handed it to me without looking. One new message. You can't outrun a mistake that's 20 years old. 6 a.m. tomorrow the building comes down, and so do I. This is your last night, I read it aloud. My voice cracked on the last word. He stared straight ahead at the road, jaw clenched. Then we don't waste it, he said. We go straight to County General. We make them open the lab tonight. We get the DNA proof before sunrise. He punched the accelerator again. Because sunrise was only 5 hours away, and the universe was coming to collect its error. County General Hospital never looked so much like a prison. We pulled into the lot at 3:27 a.m., the same building where I once identified a stranger as my dead son. The same place that stole 20 years from both of us. He killed the engine. For a long moment, we just sat there, two ghosts in a Honda. I'm scared to walk in there, he said quietly. What if the second we step inside, everything resets? What if I wake up tomorrow and I'm 19 again, or gone again? I took the DNA swab from my pocket and held it up between us. Then we make sure the truth is on paper before the sun comes up. He nodded once, sharp, like a soldier. We got out. Inside, the night shift lobby was almost empty. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The receptionist looked up, startled by two wild-eyed men marching straight at her. I need Dr. Sarah Chun, I said. Neurology? Tell her David Carter is here with the John Doe from November 3rd, 2005. Tell her the mistake just walked in on its own 2 feet. The woman's eyes went wide. She picked up the phone with shaking fingers. 5 minutes later, Dr. Chun came half running down the corridor in scrubs and sneakers. Hair in a messy bun, looking like she'd been woken from a nap in the on-call room. When she saw him standing beside me, she actually stopped walking. Oh my God, she whispered. It's you. He lifted his chin. Apparently I never left. She recovered fast. Conference room, now. We followed her through locked doors, past nurses who did double takes. She shut us inside a small room with no windows. I pulled every record I could find after you called, she said, spreading folders across the table. There are anomalies. 2 patients, same crash scene, 6 minutes apart, nearly identical injuries. The dead one had ID, the live one didn't. In the chaos, assumptions were made. I slammed the DNA kit on the table. Run this tonight, rush it. I don't care what it costs. She stared at the swab, then at him, then at me. If this matches, we misidentified a death. We created a ghost and buried a living boy under the wrong name. This would be the biggest scandal this hospital has ever seen. Good, I said, then you'll move fast. She disappeared with the sample. The door locked behind her. We were alone. He paced like a caged animal. What happens at sunrise if the test isn't back? We leave, I said. We drive until we're out of range of whatever's trying to erase you. He stopped pacing, looked at me with raw fear. Dad, I'm starting to remember more little things. The smell of your coffee in the morning, the way you used to hum when you fixed the lawnmower. If I disappear again, will you still remember me? I crossed the room and pulled him into the tightest hug I'd given anyone in 20 years. I never forgot you the first time, I said into his shoulder. I won't forget you the second. 4:11 a.m., 4:37 a.m., 5:02 a.m., every minute felt like a countdown. At 5:19 a.m., the door flew open. Dr. Chen stood there, pale, holding a single sheet of paper that trembled in her hand. It's a perfect match, she said. 99.998%. He is Michael James Carter. Your son is alive. He made it sound like every ounce of air left his body at once, but Dr. Chun wasn't smiling. "There's something else," she whispered. "The lab just got an urgent demolition update. They moved the Riverside building to 5:45 a.m. Explosives are already set." We both looked at the wall clock. 5:21 a.m. 24 minutes. And whatever force had kept my son tethered to this wrong life for 20 years was about to blow it all to hell. 5:21 a.m. 24 minutes until the building that had kept my son alive for 20 years was scheduled to be erased from the earth. Dr. Chun was still talking, words tumbling out in a rush. The demolition company called the hospital for final clearance. They found an active utility meter on apartment 8. No one could explain it. "They're treating the whole floor as a hazard now. They're blowing it early." Michael's face went gray. That apartment. "It's the only place I've existed since the crash. If it goes—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I grabbed the printed DNA report from Dr. Chun's hand. Official letterhead, barcodes, signatures. Undeniable. "This is proof," I said. "We stopped the demolition. We call the police, the mayor, whoever it takes." Dr. Chun shook her head. "I already tried." The order came from the state. Environmental hazard. "No delays. They're afraid of asbestos lawsuits." Michael looked at me, eyes wild. "Dad, I'm fading. I can feel it. My fingers are going numb. Like the night of the crash." He held up his right hand. The tips of his fingers were translucent, like smoke under skin. I grabbed his wrist. "Cold, too cold." "No," I said. "Not again." Dr. Chin saw it too. Her medical mask couldn't hide the horror on her face. "I've never seen," she started, then stopped. "We have to get him back to that apartment. Now, if the place is what's anchoring him." We didn't wait for the rest. We ran. Down the corridor, past crashing gurneys, out the emergency exit into the freezing pre-dawn dark. Michael's Honda roared to life. I drove this time. He sat in the passenger seat clutching the DNA paper like a lifeline. 5:29 a.m., 15 minutes. We hit 110 miles per hour on empty roads. Streetlights blurred into streaks. His voice was small. "If I disappear, tell Mom I'm sorry I never came home." "You're telling her yourself?" I growled. 5:36 a.m. The apartment building loomed ahead, now surrounded by chain link and orange barriers. Floodlights everywhere. Men in hard hats shouting into radios. A digital countdown clock on a construction trailer blinked in red. 0 hours, 8 minutes, and 47 seconds. 8 minutes, 47 seconds. Security tried to wave us off. I floored it straight through the flimsy gate. Metal screamed. The Honda fishtailed into the lot. We bailed out running. A foreman stepped in front of us, arms wide. "You can't." Michael shoved past him like he weighed nothing. I followed. We sprinted up the exterior fire escape this time, 3 steps at a time. His legs were giving out, knees buckling, but he kept moving. 3rd floor hallway, emergency lights strobing red. Apartment 8 stood open now, door ajar, wires and charges taped to the walls. Countdown on a demolition box inside the living room. 0 hours, 4 minutes and 12 seconds. 4 minutes. Michael stumbled inside and fell to his knees in the middle of the carpet and screamed, a raw animal sound of pure terror. His left arm was almost completely transparent now. I dropped beside him, grabbed his face with both hands. "Stay with me. Look at me. You are Michael James Carter. You are my son. You are not going anywhere." The charges beeped faster. And then the impossible happened. Every framed photo on the walls began to glow. The ones of the life he never lived, the ones of the life he did, all of them lit up like someone turned on a light behind the glass. Michael looked up, eyes wide. "Dad, I remember everything." And in that moment, the countdown hit 0 hours, 1 minute, and 0 seconds. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 59 seconds. The apartment was bathed in white light pouring from every photograph. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 55 seconds. Michael's eyes, my 19-year-old son's eyes, looked out from his 38-year-old face. "I remember the crash," he whispered. "I remember the truck. I remember the pain stopping and then waking up here. I remember both lives at the same time." 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 50 seconds. His body flickered like bad film. 1 second solid, the next half transparent. I grabbed both his hands. They were ice. "Stay in this one," I begged. "Stay in the real one." 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 45 seconds. The charges on the walls beeped faster, a high-pitched scream. He looked around the glowing room, tears cutting clean tracks down his cheeks. "This place kept me alive by stealing time that wasn't mine," he said. "It's done." "It's taking it back?" 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 38 seconds. "No," I shouted. "You don't get to leave me twice." I yanked the DNA report from my pocket, held it up like a crucifix. "This says you're alive. This says you belong here." 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 32 seconds. He smiled, small, sad, the same smile from his 8th grade school photo. "Dad, I was never supposed to have those 20 years. Someone else was buried so I could walk around in his place. The universe is just correcting the receipt." 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 25 seconds. His torso started dissolving upward like sand in reverse. I did the only thing I could think of. I wrapped my arms around what was left of him and held on with everything I had. "I'm not letting go," I growled into his shoulder. "You hear me? You do not get to die on me again." 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 18 seconds. The light from the photos flared blinding white. The beeping stopped. Silence. For 3 full seconds, the entire building held its breath. Then every charge sparked at once, but instead of exploding outward, the blasts folded inward, sucked into the glowing frames on the walls like black holes swallowing fire. The photos shattered one by one. Each broken frame released a pulse of light that slammed into Michael's chest. He gasped, back arching. Color rushed back into his arms, his hands, his face. The transparency reversed, flesh knitting together, solidifying. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 3 seconds. The last photo, him at 19, grinning on graduation day, cracked down the middle. A final beam of pure white light shot straight into his heart. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. The countdown hit 0. Nothing happened. No explosion, no collapse, just perfect, impossible silence. Michael slumped forward into my arms, suddenly heavy, warm, completely real. He was shaking, so was I. We stayed there on the carpet, holding each other while the morning sky outside turned pink. After a long time, he pulled back just far enough to look at me. His voice was rough, deeper, undeniably 38, but the words were pure Michael. "Dad, I'm starving. Can we get pancakes?" I laughed so hard I cried, because the apartment was still standing. The charges were duds, wires melted, timers frozen at 0. And my son, whole, alive, 20 years older than he should be, was sitting in my lap asking for breakfast like nothing had happened. But something had. The impossible life he'd borrowed just paid its debt in full. And the universe let him keep the change. We walked out of that building at 6:03 a.m. into the stunned silence of 20. Construction workers staring at dud charges and melted wires. The foreman kept repeating, "That's not possible. That's not possible." Michael just gave him a tired wave and said, "Tell the city the ghost paid the rent. Call off the demo." We climbed into the Honda like 2 men who'd survived a war nobody else could see. He rolled the window down, breathed the cold morning air, and started laughing, shaky, disbelieving, alive. "I can taste the air," he said. "I can actually taste it. I haven't tasted anything real in 20 years. I drove us straight to the first 24-hour diner we saw. He ordered 6 pancakes, 4 eggs, bacon, hash browns, and 2 milks like a starving teenager. I just watched him eat, afraid to blink in case he vanished again. Between bites, he looked up and asked the question I'd been dreading. "What do we do now, Dad?" I had spent 20 years with an answer to that question: survive another Sunday. Now I had no idea. "We go slow," I told him. "We get you new ID with your real name. We fix the records. We tell your mom if you want to. We figure out who Marcus Powell owes money to, who his friends were, what life he built. Then we decide which parts you keep and which parts you leave behind." He nodded, mouthful of pancake. "I want to see my old room," he said quietly. "I want to stand in it and see if it still feels like home or like a museum." I swallowed hard. "It's exactly the way you left it." He looked down at his plate. "I'm not the kid who left it." "No," I said. "But you're still my son. That never changed." We paid the bill and drove the 8 hours home in near silence, both too raw for small talk. When we finally pulled into my driveway at 4:17 p.m., the sun was low and golden. He sat in the car a long time, staring at the house like it might bite him. "I'm scared to go in," he admitted. I reached over and squeezed his shoulder, solid, warm, real. "Me too, but we do it together." We walked up the porch steps side by side. I opened the door. The house smelled the same. Coffee, old books, the pine cleaner I've used since he was little. He stepped inside and froze in the foyer, eyes filling up. "I remember this," he whispered. "I remember racing Hot Wheels down this hall. I remember Mom yelling at me for tracking mud on the rug." He took one shaky step, then another, until he stood in front of the staircase that led to his bedroom. He looked back at me. "Race you," he said, voice cracking on a grin. And just like that, my 38-year-old son took the stairs 2 at a time the same way he did when he was 10. I followed, laughing and crying at the same time, because the house wasn't empty anymore. But when he pushed open his bedroom door and saw the 19-year-old life frozen inside, something in his face broke wide open. He stood in the doorway of his old bedroom like he was staring into a time capsule that had been sealed with his own blood. Posters of bands he loved at 17 still hung crooked on the walls. The same navy blue comforter was folded at the foot of the bed. His high school soccer trophy sat on the dresser, covered in 20 years of dust except for the one spot I wiped every Sunday. Michael walked in slowly, fingertips brushing the edge of the desk where he used to do homework, the chair he used to spin in until I yelled at him to stop. "It's exactly the same," he whispered. "It's like I died and you built a shrine." "I couldn't let you disappear twice," I said. He opened the closet. His old hoodies still hung there. He pulled one out, gray, faded, our high school logo cracked across the chest, and pressed it to his face. Breathed in. "I can smell the bonfires," he said, voice muffled. "I remember wearing this the night we beat Central. I remember everything from before the crash now. It's all back." He turned to me, eyes red. "But I also remember the last 20 years. The factory. The nights I worked third shift alone. The friends who called me Marcus. The birthdays I spent with takeout and bad TV. 2 lives in one head, Dad. How do I live with that?" I had no answer, so I just opened my arms. He walked straight into them like he was 19 again and the world had hurt him. We stood there a long time. Eventually he pulled away, wiped his face on the hoodie sleeve, and said, "I need air." We went out to the back porch, sat on the same steps where I taught him to tie his shoes. He stared at the yard. I missed 20 Thanksgivings, 20 Christmases, Mom's remarriage, her new kid. I missed becoming an adult with you. I missed watching you become one, I said. He leaned his head on my shoulder, something the 19-year-old version would never have done. What happens when people see me? He asked. I look 38, you look 20 years older. How do we explain any of this? We don't, I said, not at first. We get you new legal documents first. Dr. Chen is already working on it. Death certificate reversed. Social Security corrected. Then we decide who deserves the truth. He nodded slowly. Then he asked the hardest question of all. Dad, do you think Mom will want to see me? I felt the old ache flare in my chest. His mother had rebuilt her life after we divorced. New husband, new daughter. She visited the grave once a year on his birthday and never stayed long. I don't know, I said honestly, but if she does, we'll be ready. And if she doesn't, you still have me. He closed his eyes. That's enough. Night fell, crickets started up. The porch light flickered on automatically. He looked suddenly exhausted. I haven't slept in a real bed that's mine in 20 years, he said. Your bed's still here, he gave a tired laugh. I'm 6'1" now. My feet are gonna hang off. We'll buy a new one tomorrow. He stood up, stretched, then paused. Dad, can I sleep in here tonight, even if my feet hang off? I couldn't speak, just nodded. He disappeared inside. A minute later, I heard the creak of old bed springs. Then the soft sound of crying that he was trying to hide under the pillow. I stood in the hallway a long time, listening to my son cry himself to sleep in the room he never should have left. And for the first time in 20 years, I didn't cry with him. I smiled. Because tomorrow was the first day we both got to wake up. 3 months later. We're sitting on the same back porch steps, coffee in hand, watching the sun come up like it's the first sunrise we've ever seen together. He's Michael James Carter again, legally. The death certificate is gone. The stranger buried under his name has been moved to a quiet corner of Riverside with his real name on the stone. Christopher Hayes, we left flowers there once. Felt like the right thing. Mom came 2 weeks ago. She stood in the doorway and aged 10 years and 10 seconds when she saw him. Then she ran. Not away, toward him. She held him so tight I thought ribs would crack. They cried until there was nothing left. She still calls every day now. He kept some of Marcus's life. The factory gave him a leave of absence, then a promotion when the full story leaked, quietly. Turns out the guys on third shift already loved Marcus, and they love Michael just the same. He kept the silver Honda, kept a couple friends who said, "Man, we always knew you were running from something." He let the rest go. We bought a new mattress, king size, because his feet really did hang off the old twin. Some nights he still wakes up gasping, convinced he's back in the condemned apartment, watching his hands disappear. I hear the creak of floorboards, pad down the hall, and crawl in beside him like I did when he was 6 and afraid of thunder. He pretends he's too old for it. Then he falls asleep with his head on my shoulder anyway. We talk about everything and nothing, favorite memory. Teaching you to drive stick in the church parking lot, I say. Watching you stall it 20 times and curse like a sailor, he laughs, hardest moment. For me, every Sunday at the grave. For you? Realizing I'd never have kids of my own because I was too scared to let anyone close when I didn't even know my own name. That one still stings, but he's 38, not dead. There's time. He started therapy, real therapy, not the court-mandated stuff from before. He's piecing the two lives together like a puzzle with half the pieces missing and half extra. Some days he's the 19-year-old who loves loud music and bad horror movies. Some days he's the quiet factory vet who drinks black coffee and falls asleep to documentaries. Most days he's both, and that's okay. His phone buzzed one last time the night everything settled. Unknown number, one line. Thank you for bringing me home. Then the old number finally went dead for good. We never told the full story publicly. Dr. Chun made sure the hospital buried it deep, pun intended. A quiet settlement paid for the new roof, the king mattress, and a college fund he jokes he'll use at 40. We're not fixed. We're scarred, mismatched, 20 years out of sync, but we're here. He leans over now, bumps my shoulder with his. Dad? Yeah? I'm glad I called. We never told the full story publicly. Dr. Chun made sure the hospital buried it deep, pun intended. A quiet settlement paid for the new roof, the king mattress, and a college fund he jokes he'll use at 40. We're not fixed. We're scarred, mismatched, 20 years out of sync, but we're here. He leans over now, bumps my shoulder with his. Dad? Yeah? I'm glad I called. 1 year later, almost to the day. The cemetery is quiet this morning. Just the wind in the oaks and two men standing in front of two stones. The first stone still reads, Michael James Carter. April 12, 1986. November 3, 2005, beloved son. We never changed it. We didn't want to erase the 20 years I spent loving a ghost. That grief was real. That love was real. 10 feet away is the newer stone, simple and honest. Christopher Hayes, 1986 to 2005, runaway, finally found, rest easy. We bring flowers to both. Michael sets a small bouquet of daisies on Christopher's grave first. I'm sorry I borrowed your life, man, he says quietly. Thank you for keeping mine warm until I could come get it. Then he walks to his own old stone, kneels, and places a single white lily, my Sunday tradition for 20 years. I kept you waiting a long time, he tells the stone, but I'm home now. He stands up and looks at me. Ready? I nod. We walk back to the truck, his truck now, a beat-up Ford he bought with his own money. The radio is already cued to the classic rock station he pretended to hate at 17 but secretly loves at 39. We have plans today. Lunch with Mom and his little half-sister. Lily, who is 15 and thinks her big brother coming back from the dead is the coolest thing that ever happened to anyone. Then we're driving 2 hours to watch his factory softball team play in the championship he helped them reach. After that, dinner at the diner where we ate the first morning he was solid again, tradition now. He still has nightmares sometimes. I still check his bedroom door some nights just to hear him breathing. We still flinch when an unknown number calls. But the fear is smaller every month. He kept the name Michael James Carter on everything that matters. Driver's license, bank accounts, the mailbox. He goes by Mike at work now. Only I get to call him Michael. That's ours. He starts the truck, rolls the windows down, and grins at me, the same sideways grin from every childhood photo. Dad, you know what the best part is? Tell me. I get to grow old with you now. I get the years I was supposed to have. And I get the years I stole too. Double life, double time with my old man. I laugh until my eyes water. He pulls out of the cemetery, kicks up a little gravel, and cranks the radio. As we hit the main road, he reaches over and squeezes my shoulder, quick, strong, alive. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son. And for the first time in 21 years, the hole in my chest is gone, because I buried my son once. He dug himself out, found his way through 20 impossible years, and came home. This is the true story of how my dead son called me from the grave, and how I answered. And if you stayed with me to the end, thank you. If this ever happens to you, if the phone rings at 2:47 a.m. and the name on the screen is someone you lost, don't be afraid to pick it up. Sometimes the dead are only lost. Sometimes love is stronger than death, and sometimes miracles just take a little longer than we expect. See you in the next story. Thank you for coming on this journey with us.